Yeah, we've been around the world. We're not in the hood no more. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Look. I'm front row watching SmackDown in the garden. We made a fall from them basements in apartments. Used to have them dubs of sour on the park bench. Down to put in work, it don't matter how the job get. I felt like last summer could've been my hardest. Sleeping in my car, guard testing where my heart is. I could never let the devil tell me what I'm worth. Cause I came from nothing, now I've been around the earth.
In the same since I elevated. So many things I could've said but couldn't tell you, baby. You keep on thinking I'ma change, I'ma sell it, baby. And ain't I tell you that you're pretty when you're jealous, baby. You know thugging it been a modus. I'm that nigga, I thought you noticed. Why you think I flooded the whole Yeah, they doubted but now they focused.
Welcome to another episode of Wrestling the Rap Game. And as you see, we have a super special guest. We have FTC. Frank the Clown is in the building. How are you, brother? You good?
Whew, never been better. This is a long time coming since our last time, but we don't last time.
Yeah, is the interruption on Lisi to promote FTCCW, or is it or the infamous one with Mr. Jack Talos himself?
Oh, I mean, both were very fun for a variety of reasons, very different reasons. But we'll go with the one where I interrupted Lisi there at BRCW to put over FTCCW because, Frank the Clown is such a stranglehold on the Florida wrestling scene that he's constantly sticking his nose into all kinds of people's businesses and makes it his own because, Frank the Clown is the business, as they say.
Absolutely, man. Between, just going to CCW, between having the big man Talos, and all the way to now having the Metro Brothers. We've been terrorizing, and at one point we had the Perea and Odyssey as well. We've just been terrorizing CCW for quite a while now.
Yeah, I mean, Frank the Clown has built quite a roster there at FTCCW, and just because maybe some people haven't seen the likes of Odyssey, who as we know, is crushing in Japan right now. Shout out to the Big O. Talos, same thing, has been crushing it overseas. Shout out to the big man. The Perea also overseas. So, everybody, Frank the Clown handpicks these talents. People think it's just like, they just get thrusted. It's like, no, Frank the Clown only wants to work with the best, and especially at FTCCW, he wants to deal with the outsiders, those who haven't been given that fair opportunity there. We've seen the likes of Cha-Cha Charlie and Domino and Skits. Oh my God, Meadow, the whole gang. And we've seen it over and over and over. It's time to get the new blood in. We're going to tear it down and build it in the image of Frank the Clown. So as it currently stands, the Metro Brothers, since they have been with Frank the Clown, undefeated at FTCCW. And who knows what other phone calls that I can make to God knows what talent. They don't have to be in Florida. They could be anywhere in the world. One phone call, and you know this. You can attest to this. Frank the Clown is quite connected. You never know who's going to pop up.
I mean, so far, track record is looking great. Everybody, it seems to always lead to gold. Talos, winning the BRCW title and going to NWA, winning the U.S. tag titles later on. Everybody just seems like the Frank the Clown rub. They usually, the Frank the Clown rub is it's crazy.
The Frank the Clown rub's a real thing. You rub shoulders to greatness, you're gonna be greatness yourself. And wherever Frank the Clown goes, success follows. So in CCW, unfortunately, the gold has not come our way yet. But that's not by lack of effort or anything like that. That's because the carnies that run CCW have been trying their best and their damnness to keep Frank the Clown and the members of FTCCW away from the gold. But it's inevitable. It's inevitable. So when Frank the Clown decides, it's just up to me. whenever Frank the Clown decides that he's going to lead maybe the Metro Brothers to the CCW Tag Team Championships or Odyssey to the CCW Championship, bring back my main man, the not so gentle giant Jack Talos. It's for the Southeastern Championship. There's a variety of championships in CCW. Frank the Clown has his eyes on all of them, and again, simply just a matter of time.
And have you forgiven Gangrel yet for the bloodbath that he forced upon you and Mr. Talos?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Vampire Warrior is dead to Frank the Clown. Is he already
Okay.
dead? I don't know. If is he an undead vampire? I don't know. I stay away. But now he has something that Frank the Clown wants. And it seems that maybe the opportunity for revenge, because Frank the Clown, he doesn't forget. Seems like the opportunity to strike some revenge on the CCW heavyweight champion could be around the corner.
Could be.
Oh.
Now, getting to before Frank the Clown was Frank the Clown. How did your relationship with wrestling begin? Were you a fan before Frank the Clown was born?
Yeah, so my earliest wrestling memory was back in like 1996. I was 6 years old. You do the math as to how old I am now, but I was a WCW kid through and through.
Okay.
And the first memory I have was one of the nitros over at Disney. Actually, ironically, being a big Disney adult, spoke to me. It was when the NWO had just formed, and they were like wreaking havoc back on the lot and launching Rey Mysterio into the trailer and spray painting the trailers and all that. I vividly remember flipping through the channels with my dad and seeing that and like being like, "Oh, what's this?" And then we just started watching. Honestly, the rest was history then. So up until WCW was bought out by WWF, I was like strictly a WCW kid. I know a lot of people were flipping back and forth, and maybe was, but I really don't even remember. But I do remember the first pay-per-view that I bought for WWF was WrestleMania 17, which was like 6 days after they bought WCW. So I just smoothly transitioned over. So wrestling's been a part of my life forever, essentially. And I can't imagine not having wrestling in my life in some capacity because it's been over 30 years now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really look back on like WCW days and all that really fondly. I know some people shit on it, like, oh, it was terrible. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't all great. But also the Attitude Era, people, romanticize the Attitude Era. A lot of the Attitude Era was terrible.
Terrible.
Awful stuff. We talk about like, the beer trucks and DX and The Undertaker and whatever. And like, yeah, of course, like a lot of that was great, but like for every like one great moment, there was like 10 really awful, terrible moments. If you go back and watch some of those Raws, like in like 99, they're like kind of brutal. Like the mid-card stuff is bad. It was like really bad comedy stuff. It was really like misogynistic. Like it was like it was something. It was something. And again, WCW, same thing. Like in like 99, 2000, it really started tailing off as well. Although I kind of liked how bad it was. It was like kind of so bad it was good. Looking back on it, as a 10-year-old, it was amazing. I was like, this is the demon
Vampiro.
from here? Like, what? This is great.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I was one of those people that I was like, let me watch back every episode of Raw, which I'm sure a lot of it was taken off being on Peacock now.
Right.
And a lot of the crazy stuff. And I was like, oh, this is bad because I couldn't imagine now. But one of the main events for one of those Raws was DX versus Kai and Tai. Imagine that being a main event. Baby. Imagine that being a main event now. They would chew Triple H up if a main event was the Bloodline versus, and no disrespect to them, like the LWO.
Yeah. Like it just doesn't scream main event, and like it's one of those things where it's like the main event's the hook of the show.
Yeah.
So realistically, it's like there's no really surprises of what's going to happen in this main event. Like I don't know if that's going to be Kai and Tai's night.
No. And I was just like, this is a main event. I was like, and that was literally what they closed the show out with was Triple H, X-Pac, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, just beating up Taka, Funaki, was it Dig Togo?
Yeah.
I was just like, what am I watching right now?
Probably their first and only main event. No disrespect to Kai, but it was probably their first and only like way to the show. Yeah.
I was just like, whoa, yeah. So to co-sign that some of those Raws were really bad.
Yeah.
In the Attitude Era. But As we've been talking, man, you've been involved in the indie scene. What's the wildest show you've ever worked?
Oh boy, that's a great question. Wildest show. I've done a lot of weird ones, like, but they're a lot of fun because with me, it's like, this, like, I'm not a wrestler. I don't really pretend to be a wrestler.
Hmm.
However, if and when called upon to mix it up, I can
Yeah,
get in there and surprise some people. I've been
I've seen you
trained.
take bumps.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Probably more than I would like to over the years, but we try to limit them now.
Yeah.
But there's, for instance, like, gosh, I mean, just last weekend, I'm in LA currently, but I was in LA again yet last week,
Mm-hmm.
and a promotion I work with often is called Circle Six. Now, they're not necessarily the traditional wrestling; they do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like bar shows, right? Where it's like there's
Copy.
no ring, there's brawls around the bar, it's kind of chaotic. There's a
Mm-hmm.
band, you're fighting amongst the people. Those are an experience in themselves. I had a bunch of friends that lived in LA here come last weekend, but I gave them zero context on the show. I'm like, oh, come to the wrestling show I'm on. But like didn't tell them anything. Like, and then they show up, it's in like kind of like this dingy like dive bar.
They're
There's
like,
no
what the
ring.
hell?
There's no ring. It's
Yeah.
not a big space at all. And I was just like, whatever you think this show is going to be, it's not going to be anything like that. So those ones are a lot of fun, and that one kind of lets me like be able to play with the crowd a bit more
Mm-hmm.
and get a little physical if I want to, and because it's just like a different. I'm not working a true match; it's more of a
Mm-hmm.
performance. But gosh, I mean, I've done a number of GCW shows where the crowd has not been particularly kind to me. In Chicago, a couple of them, which is my home. You would think that
Yeah.
people would be bowing at my feet, but no, it's not the case. The disrespect. But yeah, there's been, gosh, I did one. I'll never forget the one. I got dragged to this one. This was years ago, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was at like a taco restaurant. This was early in Frank the Clown's day. So he was just getting out there doing whatever. And the locker room was literally like they just put up a curtain, right, as indie
Mm-hmm.
wrestling does. But like it was the size of like a hotel room, like bathroom. Like it was like 40 people crammed. You couldn't move, you couldn't change. I do face paint. I barely get on the face paint. The fans were like on top of the ring. It was like chaotic. We won the title that night, but then never
Yeah.
came back. I don't even know if I got paid for the show, which would never would fly nowadays. But like back then, I was like, oh, okay, hopefully they pay me. But yeah, there's been a number. I love indie wrestling because every show is different, and I try to make every show feel like as important as possible
Mm-hmm.
because like, every show should be taken seriously, whether it's 10 people there, or 1,000 people, or 10,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, like some of them are like kind of funnier than others, and some of them
Yeah.
are just like super like off the wall, weird. Like the crowd is very different everywhere you go. So
Mm-hmm.
I thrive in uncomfortable environments. So I'm always down for like a weird time. But yeah, the kind of yeah, I just never know when the next one is going to be in terms of like how weird or how wild it's going to be.
Especially in the wrestling industry. I think people underestimate that. And speaking of underestimating, do you think people underestimate you because of the clown gimmick?
Yes, that's a really good question. So I struggle with this sometimes because
Hmm.
I believe I'm the most decorated manager in independent wrestling history, and people could be like, "What?" But honestly, if you really dig into my body of work, I've been
Hmm.
at this now consistently for like 8 years. It doesn't maybe feel that way to some people, but
Hmm.
I've been everywhere, and a little inside baseball. Like when it comes to indie wrestling shows, promoters don't necessarily, it's difficult to tell stories when you only run once a month or once every 2 months or once a quarter.
Yeah.
It's not weekly episodic television. So with that said, I'm a storyteller,
Hmm.
and it is difficult to tell these consistent stories because the crowd also changes month to month. You're going to have your core audience, but also too, you're
Yep.
going to have a lot of casuals or people that just get dragged along or just decide, hey, let's go see the wrestling on Friday night. So every show is almost like a reset in a way. So like I always keep that in mind. It's like the Paul Heyman mantra of like who, what, when, where, why. Explain that immediately if you're talking in a promo. So like I kind of always
Hmm.
rehash who I am, what I'm doing, what I'm about. But yeah, I think too, like the thing is, Fred the Clown is a clown who does zero clown things. He's only a clown by name.
Yeah.
It very seldomly does he break out some clown gimmicks, as one would say. So Frank the Clown is more of a like a Conor McGregor, Ric Flair love child that happens to
Mm.
paint his face and have rainbow hair and wear really flamboyant outfits. So I do think what is actually probably worked against me, but also for me in some ways, was I was first and foremost a fan. And I
Mm.
had built a platform on social media by being Frank the Clown the fan, being in the front row, being seen often, kind of standing out amongst the crowd because of the way I was dressed and having a wig and
Mm.
fixing my face and all that. And I built that platform based off of that, but I was also getting a lot of internet hate because, as we know in wrestling, any walk of life, people are pretty mean on the internet. They don't like
Yeah.
people having fun, or like they get
Yeah.
jealous of shit, like, oh, why is he front row at all these shows, or blah blah blah. Like it's like I can just be happy for someone, let them live, right? So I kind of had the idea of like, well, I need to parlay this internet heat into real life wrestling heat.
Hmm.
And that was kind of my transition into the business. Now, fortunately for me, I had kind of inroads and connections where I can kind of navigate and transition into it kind of smoothly
Yeah.
to get opportunities. However, it took me a long time to earn respect from like the boys and shit like that. And honestly,
Mhm.
rightfully so, I was not trained traditionally. I did not necessarily pay my dues by setting up the rings and doing all that shit.
Yeah.
I paid my dues in a very different way, which was people did not want me around early on because I was like Frank the Clown the Mark, or that's what they perceived me as, and like who he's here because who he's dating or who he's friends with or whatever it may be. So people didn't want to look at me for the maybe the talent I had. They were just strictly already typecasting me as like a mark. So
Yeah.
it took like a couple of years for me to like build up a body of work that people are like, oh shit. And then slowly they forgot about the mark side of things.
Hmm.
And I always kind of carried myself, my mantra that I live by is act like you've been there before and you'll be there again. So I always kind of operated where it's like, okay, if I'm here now, I'm going to find myself here again. As long as I get the opportunity, I'm going to knock it out of the park. So with that said, like it took a couple of years, but once I started building that body of work, putting stuff out there, putting good work out there, showing that I could talk, showing I have charisma, that I can get heat better than honestly probably anybody else can. Um, then people are like, oh shit. And then slowly the opportunities from everywhere else start pouring in. So
Hmm.
I think almost like the greatest badge of honor I have is that people have almost forgotten that I was once Frank the Clown the fan. Now people just know me as Frank the Clown on the Indies or
Yeah.
whatever it be. Like they don't even know that side of things. So I've kind of erased that, but it was not easy. So I paid my dues in a very, very different way. So people don't see me setting up the ring. Just know, okay, I have Frank the Clown has paid his dues in a multitude of different ways, and honestly, it's probably more difficult than lifting the steel bars into the building. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
I mean, dealing with internet hate is tough. Is super, super tough alone. And then, like you said, having the like a kind of like an untraditional,
Yeah,
you know what I mean, um, opening into the business and, being the hated person on Holy Foley, you know what I mean? Like I remember those days, man.
yeah,
It's that's I mean that's tough in it dealing with that on its own, especially
yeah.
people don't really take consideration into men's mental health, but I'm sure that takes a toll. Being like, yo, why does everybody hate me? I'm just a fan. I just like wrestling. Like, why can't I just be a wrestling fan?
Contrary to popular belief, I like to think I'm a nice man, but
No, you
the
are.
internet did not believe so. And yeah, it's just one of those things where, again, like I have pretty thick skin, things don't really bother
Yeah.
me. Obviously, like, naturally, we're human beings, we're curious. So, like, we're going to
Hmm.
see comments on the internet and we're kind of like seek stuff out, want to see what people are saying about us. I definitely fell victim to that early on, not so much now, but like, I definitely was like keeping my eyes peeled. But I honestly use it as motivation, and I've
Hmm.
always had a chip on my shoulder. So, like, anytime I see something like whatever, people talking shit, whatever, it's just like it fuels me and it
Yeah.
just makes me want to like go and be like in your face jerk. So
Yeah.
yeah, so again, like you said, the Holy Foley days and all that, like even
Yeah.
on that show, they were not particularly complimentary of me, production
Yeah.
and all that. So like, I was kind of made to be like a joke, and again, it was fuel for the fire, and like all of that led to kind of where I'm at now and where I want
Hmm.
to be. So it's all part of the story.
Yeah. And I got a question as far as all this stuff too. Do
Yeah.
you consider yourself more of a performer, a marketer, or a disruptor?
Hmm. Interesting. Disruptor is a word I like. But with that said, I don't feel like I feel like I'm capable of being a major disruptor.
Mm.
However, I have not disrupted in the way that I may visualize for myself yet. And the key word
Okay.
is yet. So I
Yes.
think it's one of those things where I have a vision, I have a plan, I kind of manifest shit,
Hmm.
and then I go after it. But I'm very much a performer at heart. And I am very like a control freak about stuff, and I
Hmm.
think I'm very creative, so I like to kind of be behind the scenes and contribute my brain to like either what I'm doing, what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've come a really long way with stuff like that. I feel like my brain sometimes really pumping out ideas. So like as a performer, I definitely like to kind of be in somewhat have a say or to some degree creative control. Not so much,
Yeah.
but like just to kind of like I feel like I can lend a unique voice because of the fact I'm not necessarily a wrestler. I look at things from
Hmm.
a different kind of perspective, and I look at it as like theater. I look at it as like an art. And again, back to storytelling. I look at it as like we're telling a
Hmm.
story here. Whether it's over the course of a one night show, I love telling a story over a one night independent show. Whether it's like I come out at the beginning of the show, talk shit, whatever, it leads into
Hmm.
something later on, and then we can kind of build over the course of the show. So I love doing stuff like that. But I've disrupted a lot in my life, and but again, I think the disrupting also never stops as well, and it can always be bigger.
Now, there is a certain guy in BRCW who I think is trying to out heat you. And I think you know who I'm talking about. Mr.
There's
Neil
only
the Heel.
there's only room for one three-letter acronym here in Boca Raton Championship Wrestling. It's not NTH, it's FTC. But here's the thing. Neil the Heel, there's actually a lot of similarities and parallels with Neil the Heel friend of God. Neil the Heel has not trained for wrestling a day in his life. Let's just say that,
Yeah.
okay? So I already have that on him, a leg up. But Neil, people naturally don't like him.
Hmm.
And whether it's justified or not, it's justified. But he just kind of gives that aura off where he's
Yeah.
like, he almost seems a little unapproachable. He's always got like a resting bitch face on. He always looks mad about something. But at BRCW, Bright the Cloud is actually kind of a good guy now. He went through his phase of being a bad guy, but a lot of the best bad guys end up being even better good guys. So I
Yep.
feel like over there, that's the direction that we're definitely on now. But Neil, he's just a jerk, and he thinks he's the man, but realistically, he's accomplished nothing. And he was the cruiserweight champion for God knows how long, but he never even wrestled. And now there's
Yeah.
another man who doesn't even barely wrestle. Johnny Fairplay also really has a lot of parallels with Frank the Clown. Like, it's scary how similar we are, but we're also very different.
Yeah.
The cruiserweight championship has been hot potatoed between all these non-wrestlers. I'm more of a wrestler than both of them combined. Perhaps Frank the Clown should become the BRCW Cruiserweight Champion.
That's what I was going to lead to. I was like, can we see that possibly?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we're going to get to this too, but this could be a smooth transition. On September 24th,
Hmm.
Frank the Clown's going to be part of a new Fox reality game show series called 99 to Beat. It's going to air at 9
Yep.
p.m. Eastern on Fox, and competing for $1 million. Frank the Clown is on there as Frank the Clown, representing all pro wrestling. But in the hour block before
Mm.
is The Floor, which is hosted by Rob Lowe on Fox. And guess who's on this season? Johnny Fairplay. So Johnny
Nice.
Fairplay and Frank the Clown are going head to head, or like going hour to hour on Fox on Wednesdays, and we're competing there. And Johnny Fairplay has been in pro wrestling as a manager, more or less, dating back to like the early 2000s with
Hmm.
TNA, before Frank the Clown was canoodling around in the business. So, there again, the parallels are there, but now it feels like we're somehow destined for this crash course. And Frank the Clown was the referee between Johnny and Neil, and then that
Yeah.
devolved into a whole thing and a tag match. But and he has no love for either of them. So it does feel like, if you've been paying attention to BRCW, that there's a crash course happening where maybe these three big-headed individuals
Hmm.
are going to cross paths one more time. But you know what? Frank the Clown is all about them dubs. He's all about the gold. He's all about the main events and championships. Might be about that time. Frank
Yeah,
McCollum to the business for
and
himself.
I know Neil has his big man, but you
He
also
does.
have, you have the not so gentle giant Talos, and you also have the Coral City Crusher, or Coram City Crusher, Mr. Odyssey himself. So
Couple of badasses there. So I
I don't
mean,
know. You have
again,
the Twin Towers.
I do, and I'm not afraid to use them. So Neil the heel,
Yeah,
tread lightly because Frank the Clown is the danger.
absolutely, man. And yeah, let's get into 99 to Beat, man. Hosted by Ken Jeong and Aaron Andrews, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Fox, September 24th, competing for $1 million, man. Like, how did this opportunity come about?
Yeah, so it's one of those things where like life can be serendipitous and
Hmm.
opportunities can kind of fall into your lap. Fortunately, I had a friend who's also on the show, who's also been on BRCW, Miranda Harrison,
Okay.
who was an honorary Sons of Boca member, I believe, for one night
Yeah.
in that match that we just spoke of. That's how weird the wrestling world is, by the way, because
Seriously.
this was such a natural segue because it's just like look at all these like coincidences that like Miranda
Hmm.
was so like it's just weird how it all works out. But she had called me and kind of was in touch with like the casting people and all that, and they were looking for somebody that kind of was me essentially, and a phone call later, and that was it. I was off to London. It was very very
Okay.
fast. So yeah, shot in London, and like you said, hosted by Ken Jeong and Aaron Andrews. Ken Jeong, may I add, humongous wrestling fan,
Yes, yes. If for
massive.
those who don't remember the Raw guest host days, he was
Yeah.
one of the Raw guest hosts.
He's a legitimate real life fan. He was at
Yeah.
MJF's wedding last weekend. Like
Oh
he's
wow.
literally like a huge fan, and he and I got the
Hmm.
bond over that. I was just with him yesterday doing press here in LA, and like he was super. Like I was talking about my schedule and all that, and I'm like, yeah, I go back to Chicago on Saturday. I've got a wrestling. You're doing a show. Like he's just he like, loves wrestling. So,
Hmm.
um, but it was a really fun experience. I'm really grateful for the opportunity and made a lot of great friends on the show. And even though everybody was like competitors and
Yeah.
competed against each other, it was like this like special camaraderie that we're all like kind of trauma bonded as well
Hmm.
because it was such like a stressful, intense experience. When people watch the show, the premise is there's 100 players, only one's going to win $1 million, but you're not supposed to don't finish last. So we're
Hmm.
playing these essentially childish games. And you don't have to come in first. You don't have to come in second, third, fourth, fifth. You just can't come in last. Because if you come in
Yeah.
last, you're eliminated for the competition, move on to the next game. And then there's also team games as well. So the whole team could get wiped out, whether you're at fault or not. It could just be kind of bad luck. But the games are going to look very simple to the viewer as they watch at home, and they're not wrong in some way. They are simple games that you can really do at your own house.
Hmm.
But when you factor in all the variables of like what's on the line, it's
Yeah.
television. It's hot in this studio, like this prison that they built. We're a little bit jet lag, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a long shooting days. So like people don't realize all of that stuff that goes into it. And then again, just the competition aspect of it. Everybody's like a Stone Cold Steve Austin, like don't trust anyone, right? Looking over their shoulders, like sizing everybody up and shit. But it's gonna make for really, really entertaining television because it is so ridiculous. And I was asked yesterday, it's like, can you beat 99 other competitors? And I'm like, of course. And they're like,
Hmm.
will you? And I'm like, perhaps. You gotta watch to find out.
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I'm
I'm
getting that. I'm getting that too, brother. I'm
but I'm
getting,
a
getting it too.
scrappy guy. Someone described me yesterday. I went out to dinner with one of my buddies, and he described me so perfectly, and it was so funny. He's like, I asked him, I'm like, how do you think I did on the show? He has no idea. Nobody knows. And he's like, honestly, I think you probably crushed it because he's like, because you're a scrappy, carny piece of shit. And I'm like, that's a compliment. That's like the best
Yeah.
compliment you could give me. Okay, scrappy is a great way to define me.
Yeah.
Carny piece of shit, is a little harsh, but you know what? It tracks. So yeah, it'll be fun to watch, and I'm excited for like everybody to see it. And again, I haven't
Yeah.
seen it either, so it's going to be just as fresh to me
Yeah.
as it is to everybody else.
I mean, you brought him up earlier, but remember, somebody called Paul Heyman the same thing, a carny. So
Look at him
that's elite
now.
company.
Look at him now. Yeah,
Yeah,
Cardi's not always
exactly.
a bad thing.
Um, got a quick game. We call it this or that. Or actually, sorry, the choice is yours. I forgot I renamed it as a tribute to Black Sheep. The song this or that. The choice is yours. And just have a couple fun questions, brother. Or you could. I usually give one. Opt out, but
Okay.
we'll see. We'll
Brave
see, brother.
soul. I'm a
Yeah,
brave soul.
but we'll see. Um, heel heat or cheap pop?
Heel heat.
Um, loud suit or louder mouth?
Ooh, depends on the environment, but I'm gonna go louder mouth.
Okay. Um, let's see what we got here. Um, cut a promo or steal the spotlight?
Can I steal the spotlight by cutting a promo?
I mean, I'll
I'd like to
we'll
think that
allow
I
it.
do steal the spotlight when I cut a
Yeah.
promo. So I think they go hand in hand.
Booed in Chicago or cheered in Cleveland?
Boot in Chicago.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Chicago's home. Chicago's home, so like I almost appreciate the booze there more than anywhere else because
Yeah.
like they kind of seen my story and seen my come up more than anybody. Don't get me wrong, a little part of me is like I do like being cheered when I do get cheered. Because it means I'm normally doing a good job. I do think I've started to like trend towards that like when you're really good as a heel and
Mhm.
like, people start cheering, right? Like you could
Yeah.
like cool heel. And I try my damnedest sometimes and not let that happen, but also like, it does I'm not used to getting cheered. Like at BRCW, it's like there's Bright the Clown chants. It's like I've never heard that in my life.
Yeah.
I was so like overcome with joy when it was happening because it was
Yeah.
like totally newfound territory for me. So, but at the end of the day, like getting booed and getting that heat, especially like at home in Chicago, that's always special.
Let's see here. We got Randy Orton or John Cena.
John Cena.
Ladder match or steel cage.
Ooh. Steel cage. I'm not a big heights guy, even though cages are tall too.
With all the giants you work with, I would have thought you were a heights guy. Um, Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels.
I figured. I figured. Um, Mick Foley or Jeff Hardy.
Mick Foley.
Got you. I gotta make sure. Just gotta make
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
brother.
yeah, yeah. He put you up for that one, probably. Yeah.
No, 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 no. I just, as far as like Daredevils. Um, let's see who we got here. Duh. Rey Mysterio or Eddie Guerrero?
Ooh, gosh, Rey Mysterio.
You answer that too quickly, brother.
There was some hesitation. The thing is, like, I respect both of them. Again, WCW guy,
Yeah,
but like, I always kind of like gravitated towards Ray a little bit more, just because of like the way he looked. He looked cool and all. I mean, Eddie did too, of course, but obviously Ray's looks and all that, the colors,
yeah.
always kind of just like gravitated towards that.
The Rock or Austin?
Stone Cold.
Okay. Um, the Usos or the New Day?
Oh man, that is a tough one. My gut says New Day. My gut says New Day.
Okay. Um, Edge or Christian?
Edge.
Damn. Or the Hardys?
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Edge and Chris Hardy's. Ah, the Hardys.
Okay. Better storyline. Austin and McMahon or Undertaker and Kane?
Austin McMahon.
Yeah,
Undertaker Kane storyline, it was great, but also
yeah,
there's a lot of holes in it. So like if you go
yeah,
back, it doesn't even make sense. There's so many plot holes that they didn't even bother to cover up. It's like who killed whose parents, and then who slept
yeah,
with whose mom, and blah blah blah, and like
yeah.
who was cheating on who, and it's a whole thing. And then they love each other, they don't love each other. So like I like the supernatural aspect to it, but it got so convoluted that it was like it doesn't make sense. But Austin McMahon was so transcendent.
I got you, brother. Um, John Moxley or Brian Danielson?
Brian Danielson.
Okay. And do one last one. let's see. I want to ask you a Chicago one, but
Only one answer for that. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, okay. I might have to go outside of wrestling to compare to go against this guy because I don't think there's anybody in wrestling bigger than this guy in this city.
I think I know what you're gonna say, but go ahead. Yeah.
Jordan or Punk?
I knew it. I knew what you were gonna say. CM Punk, the best in the world. And here's the thing. People are gonna be like, what? So I grew up in the Jordan era. So I vividly remember, like, especially the second three-peat, 96, 97, 98. It was like, but I was young. I was 6, 7, 8 years old. So, like, I do remember it. And obviously, like, the history is always going to be acknowledged in Chicago. But CM Punk was there in my, like, adolescence, my, like, most formative years. And, like, he's, like, I've been on record and for so long, like, he's my hero. And, like, really influenced my life in so many ways. That Michael Jordan, like, is arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. So it's different because I don't have, like, that personal connection to him as I do Punk. And I'm fortunate to, like, know Punk and all that, like, over the years, and, like, just being real Chicago boys, a punk rock kid from Chicago. I'm straight edge, and that, Punk influenced me and all that too. So, like, that's a very tough question to answer, but personally for me, it's always going to be Punk, no matter who else you put, no matter what other name you're going to say there. That's my dog. Yeah.
No, I'm with you, brother. I was like, I don't know if there's anybody touching Punk for you in Chicago.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say Jordan. As soon as you said outside of wrestling in Chicago, I'm like, here comes Michael Jordan.
I was like, it has to be Jordan or Derrick Rose. So
yeah.
But man, thank you for coming on the show, brother, man. Give them the socials, tell them, where they can follow you at, tell them, give them all the details.
Yes, sir. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, X Guy, @FrightTheClown _. Again, I am going to be on Fox next Wednesday, September 24th, 9 p.m. Eastern, 99 to beat. Next day on Hulu, if you don't have, cable or live streaming, whatever it may be. It's going to be ridiculous. You can, for the Florida people, CCW. I'm normally in Kissimmee. I don't know if I'll be at the next one, unfortunately, in October. However, Frank the Clown pops up wherever he pleases. So it could be in Doral, it could be in Miami, it could be in Pompano, it could be in Port St. Lucie, it could be in Tampa. It just depends if they want to pony up. But BRCW, I think we're back. What is that? November 2nd. Frank the Clown, unfortunately, had to, he was had some obligations elsewhere because he's very in demand right now, Pun. You know this.
Yes.
So, he can't, if they can clone Frank the Clown, they would. But unfortunately, we're not quite there yet. And just keep an eye out. I kind of do whatever the hell I want, go wherever I please, and take shit from nobody. So, but it's exciting times, and I appreciate the time you've given me here and everything. You've always been a big supporter of me. I always appreciate that, and it's not lost on me. So I appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate it too, brother. That's a lot of crazy times in BRCW, but that's neither here or there. But
the craziest might be yet to come. Who knows?
Yes,
I want to strap, brother. Strap up FTC. Down with NTH. Down with Fair Play. Strap up FTC. Let's go.
Well, thank you, brother, for coming on again. You can give us a follow, WTRG Pod. They call me Pun, all that good stuff. And thank you guys for tuning in. We're out of here.
I've been blessed to touch the biggest stages. 20,000 in the crowd, but I can see their faces. They astonished and they shocked, can't believe I made it. Kept a strong mind, nigga, made it out the matrix. I had to flip that, sipping on this Dawn, the Henny clipped that. Lost a lot of shit, but I ain't never lose my drip black, don't skip that. Yeah, let's not forget that. Yeah, look, but let's get back to all the real shit that I'm imposing. For all them late nights, I gotta keep my jewelry frozen.